In the summer of 1975, in the Welsh countryside, four young men locked themselves away in a farmhouse called Rockfield Studios. The air was thick with tension and the spark of something extraordinary. Freddie Mercury, ever the perfectionist, called the studio the most exhausting part of his career. It was exhausting, mentally, physically, spiritually. After sheer heart attack, Queen had sworn they'd never put themselves through such madness again. And yet, here they were, because Freddie had a vision, a song so ambitious, so unlike anything before it, that it would push everyone to their limits and redefine what rock music could be. The song was Bohemian Rhapsody. Before the band even entered Rockfield, Freddie had played fragments of it to producer Royal Thomas Baker. He sat at the piano and said with a grin, "There's going to be an opera section." Roy laughed. He had no idea what he was in for. Brian May would later say, "It was Freddie's baby. We just brought it to life." And that life began in August 1975 with a sample backing track, piano, bass and drums. Freddie arrived each morning with scraps of paper covered in microscopic notes and symbols only he could read. There was no demo, no written plan. The whole thing lived inside Freddie's mind. The rest of the band simply trusted him completely. Then came the madness. Under Freddie's direction, the band began layering harmonies, and then more harmonies. Mamma Mia's, Galileo's, Figaro's. They sang for hours, then days, then weeks. 7 12-hour days straight, until the tape itself began to wear thin. An emergency copy had to be made. By the end, Bohemian Rhapsody contained 180 vocal layers, a large mass of sound. Engineer Gary Langen remembered the moment they heard it finished. "We sat in the control room and thought, 'Dear gods, what have we done?' They had no idea they just created one of the most iconic songs in history." But finishing the song was only half the battle. EMI Records didn't want to release it. 6 minutes, they said, was far too long for radio. The band refused to compromise. Only bassist John Deacon hesitated. Freddie? Never. And then came fate in the form of DJ named Kenneth Everett. Freddie had given him a copy of track with strict instructions. Don't play it on air. Naturally, Everett played it 16 times in 2 days. Listeners went wild. They called in, begged to hear it again, and suddenly EMI had no choice. In October 1975, Bohemian Rhapsody was released. Uncut, unapologetic, and utterly unlike anything else on earth. Freddie once said, "We are not going to be content with anything less than the top." And he was right. The single went to number 1 in the UK and stayed there for 9 weeks. The video with the band's glowing faces against the dark turned Queen into icons. Their album, A Night at the Opera, followed to number 1 as well. It became the most expensive album EMI had ever founded. They own Sgt. Pepper, as Brian May would later call it. For Freddie, it was the culmination of everything he had ever dreamed of. As a young art student named Frank Bulsara, he used to sit at a piano playing the Beatles, A Day in the Life, for inspiration. Now, with Bohemian Rhapsody, he'd create his own masterpiece. A blend of ballad, opera, and rock that no one had dared imagine. Is it about guilt, redemption, identity? Freddie never explained. He only said, people should listen, think about it, and make up their own minds. Brian May thought offered a clue. He put a lot of himself into that song. At the time, Freddie was still with Mary Austin, the woman he had once proposed to, but his heart was troubled. He had fallen for a man named David Mintz and was torn between love, guilt, and a strict Parsi faith that rejected his truth. Mints later recalled, he was tormented by guilt. In the flat he still shared with Mary, there was only one bed. Beneath the glitz, Freddie Mercury was a man divided, flamboyant in public, fragile in private. A Night at the Opera, his songs revealed every shade of his personality. Death on two legs, venomous, a furious attack on Queen's former manager. During recording, Freddie's intensity was so fierce that his ears began to bleed from his headphones. Then, Love of My Life, a tender ballad for Mary, his constant companion and muse. Together, these songs captured Freddie's duality, the roaring lion and the gentle soul. With fame came money and chaos. Roger Taylor's I'm in love with my car earning him the same royalties as Freddie. Even he admitted that's not right, is it? Queen's tours grew bigger, then entourage longer. Freddie's staff now included a personal assistant and a masseur. On stage, dressed in satin and sequins, he called the audience darlings. To the press he was outrageous. To his bandmates he was just Fred, the same perfectionist from art school, now living life in Technicolor. So darlings, we are at the end of the first episode. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you are a subscriber and don't forget to turn on notification on my channel. Thank you very much.